In this video, we're going to be dividing by decimals without using a calculator. So the key to setting up any division by decimals problem is, first of all, do not write it as a division, write it as a fraction. Okay, so every single one of these questions I'm going to restructure to look like the following. 6 divided by 0.3, or 6 over 0.3, 5 over 0.04, 4.32 over 0.2, and 1.035 over 0.015. Okay, now the reason why we want to do this is because fractions have a nice property that you can multiply or divide top and bottom by the same number to give you a different looking fraction but the same answer in terms of the same size. So what we do here is that the thing that makes this type of question so tricky to look at is dividing by a decimal. It's not a natural thing to do. And what this fraction, writing them as fractions, allow you to do is basically bypass all that. All we have to do is multiply by 10, or in some cases 100 or 1,000, basically by as many tens as possible in order to make the denominator not have a decimal, the denominator not have any decimals anymore. Now it's important to note here that it's only the denominator that we care about right now. So notice in this third one, I'm just going to multiply by 10, and the last one here, I have 1,000. Basically, multiplying by 10, 100, 10, and 1,000 for these four questions is going to make it so that our denominators are whole. 0.3 will become a 3. The 0.04 will become a 4. The 0.2 will become a 2. And the 0.015 will become a 15. The top's going to be whatever it's going to be. So 6 times 10 for 60, 5 times 100 for 500, 432 times 10 will still have a decimal, but that's not a problem, 43.2. And then the last one we have 1035. Now we can simplify these fractions if we want, as much as we multiplied by tens and hundreds and thousands in order to make the decimals disappear. The fraction that you end up with might be easy to cancel, or you can just go for the jugular and actually write it as a division and do that. So 60 over 3, that's the same as 60 divided by 3. Whether or not you choose to do that in one go or cancel it down, you will end up with 20 as your answer. So suddenly, you've got a much nicer looking sum than the one that you started with. Second one, 500 divided by 4, whether or not you cancel it down or whether or not you actually do 500 divided by 4, you'll get 125. Even just to give you an idea about what I mean by cancelling, 504 can both be divided by 2, giving us 250 over 2, and then halving 250 to get that. It doesn't really matter how many steps you take. Once you get to the situation, where you have your fraction or your division without decimals, it's basically down to your division skills. The next one, now our numerator does have a decimal in it still, but that's not technically a problem. We set up our division by 2, say for example with the bus stop method, and we go through the motions. 2 into 4 goes twice with nothing left over, 2 goes into 3 once with 1 left over, remembering the point, and 2 goes into 12 6 times, so we end up with 21.6. I should just highlight the fact that we just did 43.2 divided by 2. Of course, you could just cancel this fraction down as well if you're comfortable. Again, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line is that what you have is not as nasty looking as that. And however you choose to do either of these divisions to get 21.6, it's your call. The next one, obviously a little bit of a meatier division. So how I would typically approach this is if you've got a double digit, especially if you've got a double digit value in the bottom of a fraction, I'd look to see if we can simplify this first. So it just so happens that with the 5s on the end of this, both of these can be divided by 5. So if I divide the bottom by 5, I'm going to get 3. If I divide the top by 5, I'm going to get 207. This may be straightforward for you right now. If it's not, I'll just set up the division. 3 into 207. 3 does not go into 2, so that 2 carries forward to give you 20. 3 goes into 26 times with 2 left over, and then 3 goes into 27 9 times. So we end up with our answer as 69 for 207 divided by 3, but it's also the same answer to this. And that's how you divide decimals. Done.